This is Todd. If you follow my channel, you've probably heard him screaming in the background while I cook. But despite the constant noise, he has become one of my favorite parts of coming home every day. And because of that, I started wondering something. What does he even do all day while I'm gone? Every time I come home, he's just sitting there, waiting at the door, like he's been through some life-changing adventure, and he's just trying to tell me about it. What'd you do today, buddy? So to try to get my answer, I decided to take this old security camera and start my own server so that I can spy on my cat while I'm gone. The first problem I encountered was getting this thing hooked up physically. Power wasn't all that bad because I already had a PoE injector and an outlet nearby, but Ethernet was another story entirely. Now I've run Ethernet up to my office before from the room that's right below it, that's where our router is. And you'd think that that is very simple, just going in a wall, up, and then out a wall. Well, that'd be fine if there wasn't all these like cross pieces of wood that block all of that from happening without gutting the entire house. So what I had to do instead was I took the wire and I went down to the basement, like through an air duct, over along the ceiling, and then up what I think you call the soil stack. It's where all of the toilets like connect and go down to the city sewer. Anyway, and I had to ride that all the way up to the attic and then over along the roof and then down to my office. So running a whole new wire isn't exactly easy. Luckily, when I ran that initial run of wiring, I did run 2 Ethernet cables. All right, he's over being held. So I think that if I just take one of them, he was getting into stuff. Anyway, if I can just borrow one of those cables and cut it off maybe right before it goes all the way up, I can redirect it and hook it up to my camera. And I have Ethernet. The issue is, if I cut the wrong wire, well, I kill my internet in my office and potentially sentence myself to crawling around in the attic again. To avoid that mess, I came up with an incredibly advanced networking strategy. I used a Sharpie to mark both wires and then pulled really hard on the one that I need to use, and then just looked at what mark was higher. And that worked perfectly. I got that dreams in my head. Yeah, see me living at the speed of a snail. I give you side because it's rude to stare. Your moves are whack and you know I do not care. I do not care. You're so late. Just follow fear my crew neck at the matinee. First shot, call it Russian roulette. Yeah, looking for a escape. You're not too fast. Catch me on the stay. Fuck me on the first day. We can pick the sunset still. GeForce RTX looks like a landfill. You say choose, you never like this. I say blend in with fairness. Went to the place where the music should dance and the line refused to move. At this point, I'm feeling incredible because I plugged the camera in, and thanks to a network configuration wizard, it immediately worked. I have video. I'm sitting there thinking, wow, this may actually be one of the easiest projects I've ever done. It was not, because almost immediately after this momentary high, I spent 8 hours trying to get this thing accessible on my network. 8 straight hours of false hope. I would get the video for like 3 seconds, then something else would break. At one point, I could access the stream locally, but not remotely, then remotely, but there was no video, then through the correct path, but still no video. It was just constant psychological warfare. Eventually, though, I realized the problem was entirely my own fault.
I'm retarded?
I've been really getting into self-hosting lately. I have a media server, an audiobook library, photo backup, basically a Google Drive replacement, and even a transcription service for my podcast. And all of that runs inside of Docker containers. Now, if you don't know what Docker is, the easiest way I can explain it is that it's little isolated Linux containers running inside of Windows. I naturally thought, why wouldn't I put this camera stream in there too? Turns out that's a terrible idea, because containers really want to isolate themselves unless you explicitly tell them what's allowed in and out. I don't know enough about networking to explain this properly, but the best analogy I can come up with is I was basically trying to feed a cat that is trapped inside of a sealed box without opening the box. And after hours of fighting this thing, I just abandoned the Docker setup completely. Instead, I turned to PowerShell. In that, I ran 3 different instances of something, one of which called GeForce RTX, which basically... Hi again. This section bored me. All you need to know is that I have 3 instances of PowerShell running. He bit my hand, and so I stuttered. I'm sorry. I have one of them running, it's called GeForce RTX, and really all that does is take the camera's stream and makes it more browser friendly. I then have an instance of, it's called Caddy. This adds passwords to it. And then the final piece is Cloudflare, and that just makes it so I can access it through a web address. So. But finally, after all of this, it worked.
Look at him.
And now, after 10 hours of working on this project, I have the means to check in on Todd and know what he's been going through. All the adventures he has been trying to tell me about, I can now finally witness. And as it turns out, they were dreams, because all he does is sleep. 30 minutes after we leave, up until an hour before we get home. He's asleep. Although I did catch him doing this once while I wasn't recording. So honestly, this was totally worth it.
I got that dreams in my